Copa America. Let's discuss some Copa America here because we're with two Copa America gurus right now who are pumping out so much content over this tournament. I once again highly recommend you guys to go check out their channel, Deadball TV, to see their group previews right now. You guys are on Group D, I believe.
Yeah, we got one left.
What you got?
One left.
Yeah. Really exciting stuff in the build up to the tournament. We're still holding out from our previews, right? We're still holding out. We're finishing off a few of our tournaments, but that is coming very soon. But regardless, we're going to be speaking about some Copa America teams right now here with these boys. And the first topic, I just lost my hair. Fuck.
Hey, take it.
Water.
Oh, reel it back in. Reel it back in. Hey, we were talking about, This is the second leg. This is the second leg. Here we go.
God damn.
Extra time. Shit.
Hydration break.
Guys, what Copa America team has the most pressure going into it? The most pressure. Let's start with you, Salts.
I actually have a lot to say here, so possibly bear with me. Butt in if you want to. Feel free. But honestly, I think the United States has the most pressure out of any team in this year's Copa America going into it. Okay. And here's the couple of reasons why. There's actually one reason, but I need to lay out a couple things to kind of build up to it.
Set the scene.
Let's set the scene, I guess.
Yeah, because I disagree.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And we'll get there too.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
You'll convince me.
Yeah, okay. So first thing for the United States going for them is they are now established as the kings of CONCACAF. And that might have been up for debate before this last Nations League final against Mexico, but I think there's absolutely no doubt, you cannot argue it. The United States is definitively the best team in CONCACAF, and honestly, by a decent margin. Mexico are good. Panama plays good football. Canada have Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, right? But the United States, as a collective, as a team, is by far the best team in CONCACAF.
What about Jamaica?
Also Jamaica. You got Damari Gray. You got some good ballers there. Bobby Day, Cordova Reed. And, they had a good game against the United States, for sure.
Never forget, they took them to extra time.
I can't forget that. And also, Hallgrimsson has actually been trying to change, I think, the way that Jamaica play. I think it'll take them a while, but I mean, they have up until the World Cup to do that. And also, they have a good practice this year at the Copa America. So Jamaica, they have work to do, but, the USA. So if we establish that, and we also consider the idea that beyond statistics, if you just watch this USA team play, oh my God. I mean, they're so entertaining. Every single player can get the ball, dribble at their opponent, and just play really entertaining, dynamic, offensive football. Not only that, but pound for pound, man. I mean, we have a Champions League winner in our starting 11. Add on top of all of that, we have a very established starting 11 and honestly 4 or 5 bench players that come into rotation and put in good performance after good performance, all underneath a coach that they trust. And I know a lot of people probably are anti-Greg Berhalter, and I'm not entertaining it anymore considering his track record and considering that the players completely back him. So all that taken into account, I think the pressure for the United States lies in the fact that they are going into unmarked territory, because everything that I just laid out has never been true for the United States in their history, ever. You cannot say any of what I just said, and it's never been true before until now in 2024. So you take all of that pressure, all of that into consideration. The USA are trying to flip the narrative that has been with them their entire existence. And that narrative is underdog from CONCACAF. Every time they play against Uruguay, Brazil, Argentina, a European team, it's always, all right, the USA, we gotta dig deep here. We gotta utilize Christian Pulisic or Landon Donovan, and we gotta go at them. We gotta play CONCACAF football. And when we do pull it off, it's always because our opponent underestimated us. But I think this generation of USA players is trying to completely change that. And I think they can. All things considered, this is the best talents that the USA has ever had. We're playing the best football that we have ever had. Every single player is playing in Europe. I think that's a lot of pressure. But all things considered, man, I'm so excited. I'm very nervous for this USA team because it is pressure. If we do not have a good Copa America, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. The narrative stays the same. You'll hear all the pundits on ESPN and CBS say the same thing that they've been saying for 10 years. We're good, but we still can't touch the best of CONMEBOL. We still can't touch the best of UEFA. But I think with all of this considered, I think the USA can finally change that narrative. But that's why there's a lot of pressure on this team. They're trying to change all the demons of their past.
We got some dogs, and the vast majority of what you said, I completely agree with, except for the Berhalter thing. And I just wanted to get that
and
in.
We can have a conversation about Berhalter. We can do that.
He's
too.
an overhated manager.
He's an overhated manager.
He's overhated.
And that's coming from hater number one over here. I just wanted to get my positive in before the inevitable.
Go ahead, get it out.
No, that was it.
I'm going in. No, okay, the number one reason that I disagree with that is because I truly feel like when we're looking at things long term, the Copa America is a dress rehearsal for the United States.
True.
In the end, it is 2026. I also think when we're talking about pressure, I think you as a US fan feel pressure. When I was trying to answer this question, I was also looking at the global fan base. I don't know if other people, if Europeans, if people in Tokyo look at this U.S. team and are like, well, I mean, they better make the final of the Copa America. I don't think there's external pressure. Whereas I think when we start talking about teams like Argentina, which I might mention later, teams like Brazil, maybe even Mexico, Uruguay, who I'm going to talk about, I think there is a global pressure because of the pedigree that they've had in this Copa. Some of these teams are down bad too. They're in the mud right now. There's a lot of pressure from within and from outside to do well. And so those are the main reasons I don't think the United States is like in the furnace right now. I think they need a good showing, but I'm going to be real. I feel like if they make the quarterfinals and they lose to Brazil or they lose to Colombia, everyone's going to look and they're going to say, sounds about right, and we're all going to move on. And everyone's going to be talking about 2026. That's why if I had like a hierarchy, and I do have a hierarchy of teams under pressure, I wouldn't put the U.S. in the top 5.
I definitely see what you're saying, but okay, we can actually just kind of go down it. So if we start with Argentina, I don't think they have any pressure whatsoever because they just won the Copa America and they also just won the World Cup. They have nothing else to prove. They already are the best team in the world. If they miss out on one Copa, they're fine. I actually say there's almost zero pressure for Argentina.
I would completely disagree. I would actually say there's a case that Argentina are under the most pressure, and I say that because you said they have nothing to prove. Well, what they're chasing now is we're the best team ever. It's no longer we're the best team in the world. It's not we're the best team in CONMEBOL. They've been that. If they go back to back at the Copas with sandwiching a World Cup, oh, we talking top 3 all time, baby. We talking top 2. Like they have inserted themselves into that conversation. We talked about this on Deadball TV. They become undeniable. It's like, we're talking about basketball. It's like Jokic with the Nuggets. You know, at a certain point, the man is so good, you can't help but put him in the top 5 all time. You can talk about how he doesn't look like an athlete. You can talk about this or that, how Michael Jordan had his tongue out when he was dunking on people. But at the end of the day, if Jokic has 5 titles, if Argentina get 2 Copas, or I mean, dare I say 2 World Cups in a row, you're immortalized. You've become Achilles.
My argument to that case, though, is that this is international football, a landscape that, you know, you go 2-4 years in between major tournaments. So when you build or create a legacy, it's honestly bonus. It's surplus because you don't know if a player you have that pops off in 2022 is going to be the same in 2026. So if you win back-to-back tournaments, it's not because you truly earned it. It's just because you, in the moment, you were the best team in that tournament. I see international football more as a momentary type of landscape rather than a legacy landscape. Club football's legacy. Madrid is winning back-to-back Champions League. That's something that you can build because the players stay the same 12 months to 12 months to 12 months. Whereas international football, so much can change over the course of even just 2 years. So that's why I say there's no pressure on Argentina, because they've already won the Copa. They've already won the World Cup. Yes, I do agree. They would become undeniable by winning this Copa. But since they've just won it, I don't think they really fully mind if they lose it. Because, again, it's Messi's what? He's no longer the player that he was. I mean, he's still amazing, do not get me wrong. But there's also just a lot of other rotation that might happen. I mean, the coach even said after the World Cup that he might leave. Like what's that about too? So I just think...
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said he was considering. He said he was considering, never wanted to leave. So many people were clowning me in the Deadball TV comments about that. They were like, where's your coach going? He's not going anywhere. Thank God.
But that's kind of my point, though, is that international football is not about like year to year to year to year. It's just one big moment to the next.
But you don't think in this case it kind of is? Because we're talking trophies in 21, 22, 24. I mean, that's 3 trophies in 4 years. You're talking about Real Madrid winning every year. Okay, Argentina won't have 4 trophies in 4 years, but they'll have 3. I mean, shit, they'll have 4.
We'll have 4. The finalista, which we do.
It is Mickey Mouse.
It is not Mickey Mouse. It's against Italy.
So,
you Euro snobs want to come and meet? No. Hold on. We're going to settle this at home.
I'm not a Euro. See, I'm not a Euro snob, so that's why that argument doesn't work against me. I'll talk down on the
You've been indoctrinated.
Absolutely, bro. I'm radicalized to the Asian continent.
Hear me out.
Dude.
Hold on. Let me take a stab at this.
Okay.
So I think that Argentina, at least from what I can see, and I'm trying to put my own bias aside here, and just to give you some context, I haven't lost in so long that I've forgotten what it is like, and that was my personality. Argentina was Rio Platense, the Silver River. We were silver every freaking year. 2014, then we went out in 2018 against the champions, which I'm gonna call that a second place. And then Copa America after Copa America, Chile ruining my life over and over, and then finally we hit gold, right? And it does feel like the payoff's there. It feels like finally, oh my God, everybody was starting to give up hope, but then the whole country got up for it, and we did it. We did the Copa America. Almost feels more important than the World Cup, the way that we cried that. Like, just watch the reaction there and the reaction of the World Cup. Like, you didn't think winning was possible, right? So we have that. We have the other one, and the Finalissima, beating a objectively good Italian team. I think that the Argentines are dying for another. I think that some more casual fans are like, I finally got to see Messi win the World Cup. I saw the greatest player of all time become the greatest player of all time. I'm okay if they lose this Copa America. They're just going to be watching it to see Messi, right? It's like everybody sees it as his farewell tour. So I found it really hard to say Argentina either way, because I see both sides, and I couldn't come to a resolute, definitive decision here. I'm going to say no. I think some more teams have a little bit more at stake in the international scene. I like what you were saying moment to moment. I'm going to have to digest that some more. But as an international football first kind of guy, it's tough, because that is my legacy.
I also think if you're a hater, right? And there's a lot of y'all out there, there might be an asterisk.
One right here.
I'm not an Argentina hater. There's other teams that I
Remains to be seen.
But I think there's an asterisk potentially next to both the Copa America and the World Cup. Why? Because Copa America was played behind closed doors.
It was.
Yeah, you won in the Maracanã with 200 fans in there. Let's not act like that's the same thing. And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate. That's the argument against the greatness of this Argentine squad. You beat Italy in the Finalissima, but they didn't even qualify for the World Cup. They actually trash. Yeah, you won the Copa in 2021, but there was 200 people in the stadium. It's not real. Kind of like when Liverpool won the Prem. And then you won in Qatar, but, you guys got a penalty. You guys, what was I'm going to keep it going. But you guys got a penalty in every single game. And, there's a lot of excuses. If they win again, what is the excuse? What is the excuse? You won 4 trophies in 5 years. What are they going to say? It's undeniable greatness.
It's a dynasty.
It's a dynasty.
Are they your number one? Are you staking that right now?
Modern.
Nah, then I'm number 2. I think number two. Yeah, then number 2.
You're talking all time?
Oh, like.
Wait, what?
No. Sorry. Number one, most pressure.
Number
one, most pressure. Yeah.
Oh, no, they're my number 2.
You're number 2? I think all time is a whole different discussion.
I mean,
then we go player to player, and it's tough.
Ask me after the Copa America. If they win again, how do you not put them top 5?
Yeah.
You can't.
They're top 5 for sure. Yeah, they're top 5 for sure.
There's going to be some people in the comments who disagree.
People are going to
100%.
I see those things on TikTok
if they win,
all the time.
if they win again.
Yeah.
Oh, if they win again.
Yeah.
I think
if they win again, they're top 5
I think
for
we're
sure.
talking top 3.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Talking top 3.
I'll be with you.
Yeah. I just to finish, I agree. Establishing a dynasty is huge. I mean, when I think dynasty, every single time I go to the Golden State Warriors and I go to the Spanish national team between 2008 and 2012.
Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, why not?
No, we don't do college. Draw the line.
I went to Ohio State. So I just want to say we beat them in the national championship.
We're not talking AFC. We're talking SEC.
Hey, Big Ten, baby.
Yeah,
That's
reach
where
our
it's at.
limit then. All right.
Yeah.
All right,
And
bet.
so Argentina would put themselves in that exact same category. Thing is, I mean, World Cup has the most weight of anything. The fact that they already literally just won it, I think relieves a lot of the pressure. All the pressure on Argentina was to see Messi lift that trophy. It's done. I don't think you can say as much that Argentina has a ton of pressure on them in this tournament. But the dynasty thing, I completely agree with 100%. Yeah.
I think ultimately I would disagree with both you guys regarding the U.S. and Argentina, because when I hear the question, which Copa America team has the most pressure going into it, I think about which team suffers more by not succeeding. We're talking about suffering. That's pressure. Playing games knowing that if you don't get a result, something bad's going to happen.
There's going to be hell to pay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like the clear answer here is Brazil. I think it's Brazil. I think they, for that reason, have the most pressure going into this tournament. And you can see this from so many different angles. Just looking at the past big tournaments they participated in, we're talking about Argentina forming a dynasty. Well, it's come at the hands of Brazilian failure, which is crazy to think about, especially knowing how they see football in that region. It's so personal. I know you know about this specifically. It's so personal. To see Argentina lift so many titles back to back to back times, it's just ridiculous to comprehend that as a Brazilian, I would imagine. But then also going out against Croatia in the penalty shootout in which they came back last minute goal. They lost the lead. Neymar had scored such a beautiful goal. That was their moment to go into the semifinal against Argentina, and it didn't play out. And now you have the Copa America here in the States. I think now is the time where you have to get a result here. You have to get a trophy, because the punishment will not just be disappointment from your country, but it will most likely be seeing Argentina form a dynasty. Yeah. And that to me is the most amount of pressure in this tournament.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
For sure.
Damn, I don't have them top 5.
Oh.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I feel like what protects Brazil a little bit is they won in 2019.
Right.
They lost in the final in 2021. Let's not act like they fell off like Peru. Okay.
No.
And this is objectively a weaker Brazilian team. It's not 2002. It's not on that level. Neymar's kind of up in the air. There's kind of this new guard. The fullbacks are the worst I've ever seen. I think there's always pressure with Brazil, just like Mexico. There is always pressure. Mexico, we're dog water right now, but there is pressure because it's Mexico. Okay, so the fan base, they don't. There's no rebuild for Mexico. They don't get that luxury. Brazil doesn't get that either. I think if they made a semifinals, I think it's fine. To me, I'd be like, okay, that's about right. Or if they made the final and lost to Argentina on penalties, is anybody looking at Brazil and saying, wow, y'all bottled that? They're supposed to lose.
The Brazilians.
I think understanding
lose.
the context of them right now, that makes sense.
Yes.
But I don't think Brazilians see it that way with the national team at all.
Yeah.
No,
But
I
how
think-
do non-Brazilians see? I'm not Brazilian. I'm looking at it from my perspective, and I'm just like, I don't expect you to win. Right now, on paper,
Right.
I said it
agree.
on our channel. If we're going
they're
starting 11, they're arguably third.
But I'm telling you right now, I think that this would cement something, them losing, much more negative than they have ever experienced. I mean, they are living on a prayer right now off of Endrick's phenomenal performance when they went over and played against the Europeans, right? Massive win at Wembley and an excellent showing in Spain. Fantastic, okay?
Yeah, but they're friendlies.
It's still playing in Wembley. Like, that is huge. I would die for the opportunity to see Argentina play at Wembley. I would love that. Love that.
Yeah, but those aren't legacy changers.
But it's still carrying on a legacy that, like, our fathers passed down. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way that I see it is that this Brazilian side are headed down. They're dropping down, and it's not like Peru bad. It is not Peru bad, but the expectations were much higher for them to begin with, right? So the second that Brazil goes and gives them a little bit of life and hope, and then they come back and they crush it, right? I feel like the expectation is to carry on and use this momentum, beating the Europeans over there, to turn around and use a new guy like Endrick, right? When Neymar is out. Okay, who's going to be next up? We don't have a Ronaldinho anymore. We don't have a Ronaldo. Where's Pelé, right? Messi's on his way out. Okay, well, maybe the Brazilians got something. Let's do something here, right? Let's show off. If they don't, I think they're in the fire. I think I would be comfortable to say that Brazil are the biggest losers. Yeah, I think I would be comfortable saying that they are the biggest.
Quick math.
I was buffering, right? The RAM is a little, it's struggling here.
But you mentioned it when you debated him on the USA, in that there's teams that their knownness goes beyond just their own country.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The Asians will be watching this tournament, and they'll be going into it thinking that Brazil is one of the top teams in the tournament, which they can be, by the way.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I think ultimately the worldview of Brazil is the same as the country's view, which is we're Brazil. We're born and bred for this sport. We should be winning trophies. And people are starting to ask questions now with the disappointments after tournament. And it's time. It's like time now. There's an urgency, I believe, because with what you said, if they don't do it now, then I think it does cement like a seed of we might be falling off right now. And I know that it probably is already true, but to people there, I think it's a big deal. And also to like the world view of Brazil, people might be looking at France as like the next power now.
I like that. It does damage to the worldview of Brazil. Yes, the football heritage that you're talking about. 100%.
I think it's already been damaged. I think it has. I think, again, when you look at Brazil's record, especially against European teams in knockout football at the World Cup, I think that's what's doing the damage. You said which team has the most to suffer. I kind of looked at which team, if they have a good performance, changes the perspective around the team the most. Brazil, I think, consensus worldwide outside of Rio de Janeiro, are regarded as the second best team in CONMEBOL. So if they win, I don't know if the doubters see a Copa America victory and say Brazil are back, because they're going to say, "What are y'all doing at the World Cup? But y'all lost to a good but not great Croatia side in a game that you shouldn't have fumbled." I think the World Cup is where Brazil has to change their narrative for their team. I don't know if they I can't say. I'm projecting a lot. I can't say Brazil are back if they win a Copa America final.
And I think it's because you're too close. Brazil are the second best team.
I'm
but
knees deep.
Brazil are the second best team. But worldwide, they're still viewed as the number one, right?
Well, they don't know ball.
But
that's the pressure. That's where pressure comes from.
Pressure, yeah,
it's from just casuals ultimately, and like people on the street.
We talk about Mexico all the time, right? The fan base is ride or die. We know that those Dortmund ultras will be out like they are the winners already, right? The pressure is on. The pressure is there for these guys. We're going to see that poor old man, I think he passed away, but the one who's famous, his picture of him crying in 2014 when they went out against Germany.
Oh, wow.
I think he passed away already, but that's the vibe, and that pressure is on. So while I agree with you, I think you're 100% correct. They are the second best right now. I think it's already in CONMEBOL undeniable, but it would cement it, and that seed would be planted for the layman, right?
Yeah, I agree with the initial premise that Brazil have been very much failures recently. But the reason why I say that they don't really have that much pressure in comparison to other teams is kind of because of what you're saying. If we say just the 11, even though it's not that good as it has been, if we say Brazil's the second or third best team in this tournament, that means a semifinal appearance.
Yeah.
And if they do that, then they're good. Brazil's good, and they probably will do that just by nature of them being that good. If you have Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Endrick going off, they'll probably get to the semifinals. I don't really see that as pressure. I just see that as kind of automatic, right? And if they get to the final, okay, you lose a final. I think people are going to be okay because of the reputation that they've set in the World Cup already. They lose those games. I don't think Brazil can really gain much from the Copa America unless they outright win it. But other than that, I think unless they get grouped, then that's a whole different conversation. Yeah. But I think for Brazil, the pressure is going to be at the World Cup. It's always at the World Cup because that's where Brazil got their legacy. It wasn't really Copa Americas. It was World Cups. That's why they're the most well-known team in the world is because of the 5 titles that they've won.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think if they're going to alter reputation at the Copa America, bro, it's got to be like a 3-0 win against Argentina in the final. I'm sorry, you win on pens. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah. Don't say that out loud.
If you squeak, I mean, God forbid Argentina get knocked out and you beat Chile in the final,
right? Because
they're on the tough side of the bracket. No one is going to care. They won't. Period. I'm sorry. Like I'm gonna throw something out there because I've been attacking y'all's takes. So a team that I think, and I would love to hear what you guys think. These aren't my number one, but for instance, Ecuador, in my opinion, is a team that has been historically abysmal at the Copa America. I think they have 2 semifinals appearances all time. These boys have been trash. Like, it's been really, really bad. And now, for the first time, maybe ever, I would say, well, not ever. I'm going to say that right now, head to toe, this is probably the strongest Ecuador side of all time. Yeah. And they have a manager. We like to talk about Spanish managers and the intelligence. A man who won the Asian Cup with Qatar. He's coming in. He's trying to make a new system, very different from what Gustavo Alfaro was doing before him. I think the group is very doable for Ecuador as well. I think if we look at some of the non-giants in CONMEBOL, I think if you look at an Ecuador, you say it's time. It's time to deliver. And I think if Ecuador don't make a semifinals, I think it's a catastrophic failure. And I think you just look at them and you're like, you guys might always be frauds. Like, I think that will be the perspective of Ecuador. Versus if they make a final, then it's like, damn, we start talking golden generation. We start talking, well, what are they going to do with the World Cup? Like, oh my God, Ecuador, they actually, maybe their defense is actually legit. That's kind of how I went about answering the
Sounds like the USA
question.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Think so?
Your exact take on Ecuador is why I have USA as the most pressure. We gain the most if we go to the semifinals, and we gain a lot. If we go to the final, that's ringing across the world. England will be like, oh shit, USA. Okay, so their performance against them in the World Cup was real. Now all of a sudden, a team like the USA, a team like Ecuador, suddenly doesn't just become a throwaway at the World Cup. All of a sudden, people are like, oh shit, okay, Ecuador had a really good Copa America, or the USA had a really good Copa America. Now we're on the map of other countries because of this tournament. So I agree with your Ecuador. I completely agree.
I think the difference that I have in my head between the U.S. and the Ecuador situations, that the U.S., like you said, are the objective kings of CONCACAF.
True, yeah.
I mean, the trophy, we're running out of space on the trophy cabinet. Meanwhile, Ecuador, they don't have a damn thing. Yeah. Like, they literally, I don't know. They might have
Bolivia has a better record.
Bolivia has.
Which is insane.
Yes. They've won it. They've won it twice, haven't they?
Yeah. They have 2 wins. I didn't even think about that.
Both at home. They're home merchants, much like the U.S. But
indeed,
I think Ecuador would be like a team that's like historically mudded. And if they made a semifinal, I mean, if they beat Argentina in a knockout game, the greatest victory in Ecuadorian history, man. Yeah. So that's the only thing. I think U.S. is going from, where's the camera? I think U.S. is going from like here to here. Ecuador is going from like here to here.
I see what you're saying.
Much more to gain.
There's much more to gain. Yeah. I actually completely agree with that. Yeah.
But is that pressure? Yeah. I think that's just about who has the most to gain from a tournament then. Pressure is different.
It is pressure though, because it's up to this generation to pull it off. And if they can't, you're fucked. You're doomed. Yeah. You just become what you've always been. Yeah. But if you have the opportunity to change that, you first of all know that. Can you execute it? That's a lot of pressure.
Well, then this leads me to the number one question right now. Okay. Your number one isn't USA. It isn't Argentina. It isn't Ecuador. And it's not Brazil.
Wait, was it in Ecuador?
No, they're my 3.
Oh, my bad.
You're giving this man exactly what you want. He's like, I'm going to hold that until the last possible moment.
It better not be Mexico, and it better not be Colombia.
Nope.
Okay.
Although I do think Colombia will make the final. Can I drop that hot take right here?
If you want to, it's up to you.
Colombia have a really cool chance.
I think they're going to make the final. I don't think they'll win, but I think
they're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Let me set this up for the TikTok. Who is your number one team with the most pressure at the Copa America?
For me personally, I went very personal with this take. I said Uruguay. To keep it concise. They've been very poor at the Copa America since they last won in 2011. They have a manager now in Marcelo Bielsa who's regarded as a legend. We talked about this in our episode, though. He's not really a winner. He has a very hot, he's got an aura. That's like the big word that's going around football Twitter right now. He's got an aura. we need to see this team, which I think, with all due respect, is really living off the past right now. We're really, when we talk about Uruguay, we're really talking about the 30s, 40s, 50s, 70s. I'm not taking anything away from those Copa America titles, but y'all haven't been the giant that you're painted as in a long time. And right now, in this moment, I said Brazil was the third best starting 11. I would say Uruguay have the second best 11 at this tournament. So for me, I need to see, and I want to see, as a Uruguay fanboy, I want to see the revival of this once great national team because they have the players in the play system under Marcelo Bielsa to do so.
Yeah, Uruguay have a ton of pressure on them this year for sure. Especially because you look at the players that they have now, you cannot obviously rely on the players of old, right? Like the Cavani, the Suarez, right? They're gone.
Yeah.
And now it's up to this new generation of players to fulfill exactly what you're saying. Go back to winning trophies. Go back to being world beaters. Being able to beat and compete against Argentina, Brazil. That's a lot of pressure. Yeah, that's a good pick, honestly.
They've kind of been flops since 2011. I mean, 2010, amazing World Cup. 2011, obviously, I think they beat Paraguay 3-0 in the final.
Yep.
Stacked team.
That was a good team.
That was a damn good team.
Yeah.
But this team right now, man, that midfield is cold, dude. They got guys like Bentancur and Hernandez on the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, Arrascaeta out wide. Darwin Nunez, say what you will about Liverpool, but for Uruguay, the man is possessed.
Bielsa gets him up for Uruguay.
I
don't know if it's Spanish. I don't know what it is. But
The mate is different down there.
the Maria's down there in Montevideo.
yeah.
But they're just getting this man ready for these games.
Yeah.
Valverde, De La Cruz, I think one of the most underrated players in CONMEBOL. The center backs. Oliveira, the team is stacked.
Yeah.
I mean, probably, I don't know, Rochette's probably like the weakest point of their team. I mean, he's a
No,
good,
but they have
he's
no
decent.
more
He's
excuses.
decent,
goalkeeper.
yeah.
We talked about this a lot.
They have
I'm
no
sorry,
more
I'm
excuses.
referencing the Dead Ball TV.
No,
Group
please,
C. It's
please.
2 hours,
Plug
so
yourself.
grab some palomitas before you watch that. But that's popcorn. They're out of excuses. It's been 13 years since you guys did anything. You're regarded as one of the best national teams in the world. Time to show up.
Yeah, I like these points. I do. I think with Uruguay specifically, it gets interesting because they're perceived as a country that is so well known for overachieving, not at tournaments, but just with the talent pool that they generate. A country the size of fucking Salt Lake City in Utah, I think, or some bullshit.
Right. Yeah.
A country so fucking
million.
small is able to produce such incredible talent. I don't know if people will actually give them true pressure because the story of Uruguay is a remarkable one, just in how they've been able to compete at such a high level in so many tournaments with the small population that they have. There is a lot to be gained.
Yeah.
I just don't know if there's a lot to lose in their situation. Like how much pressure can a country of that size truly put on a team when you have a team like Brazil, which is 10 times its size?
Let me ask you this. What is the aftermath of the U.S. men's national team beating Uruguay 2-0 in the group stage? That's pretty damning, I think. I think that's another. You're talking like, I don't know. Give me a metaphor here for like I was going smog, like another.
Oh my God,
little thing in the armor. But anyway,
It's a great question.
I'm still
a really
stuck
fun
on.
question.
I'm stuck on the aftermath there. I'll come up with a funny
you're
one.
asking-
Probably 45 minutes.
y'all
from
think
now.
about the answer. Let me ponder.
Dude, I think what scares me about that is that people outside of Copa will look at it and be like, it's a joke. That's what I'm scared of because they're going to look at the stacked roster and they're going to say something along those lines like, oh, it's Mickey Mouse because, they'll always spin the argument, right? USA stands to gain a lot, but the second that they win that victory there, people are going to be like, Copa's down bad.
Yeah, and kind of, it's a very similar idea here. What's interesting about Uruguay is even though they haven't been as good as we want them to be or as they should be, they still go to every single World Cup. Yeah. They still got out of the group stage every single time. So I don't know if their image, I don't know if their image gets, image gets tarnished as badly though, unless they have a really bad Copa, like a really bad one.
I think it's detrimental if USA beats Uruguay. It's detrimental. I think it's worse if USA beats Brazil. So that's why I still
worse if the US beats Brazil.
Yeah, that's
worse.
If
that's
the
worse.
US beats Brazil,
that's worse for Brazil.
Worse for
I would
CONMEBOL,
argue
worse for Copa America.
completely
worse for Brazil.
agree. In both cases, it is the greatest win in United States national team history, but it's even one more, especially for our fans at home, if we beat Brazil, right? The layman over here, anybody that's hopping into one of the new MLS franchises, they're saying, "Oh my God, we beat Brazil. We did it. We beat the Brazil." Right? I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm really on the fence here because we've talked about it a lot, right? Uruguay, in my opinion, would fall so hard. I would be so disappointed in them if they lost. But I think on a worldwide, international scale, Brazil have the most pressure, but Uruguay stand the most to lose because my opinion of Bielsa, who I hold in very high regard, in spite of him, like, go look at his record, the way that they hyped him up at Leeds, you'd think he won, 15, 16 different medals. The only thing he's ever won is the Olympics.
It's Bielsa tax.
It's the Bielsa tax.
Actually,
That's it.
I don't even know if he was the main guy on that Olympics team. Somebody left a comment in our last video. It might be
Really?
somebody else. I think
Dude,
I don't
even
know.
more damning. Even more damning. But like he'll get runner ups for like manager of the year trophies. I was reading that stuff. I was
Cesora.
like,
It's
oh
Cesora. People love Bielsa
Cesora.
Cesora.
Yeah,
They love it.
and they love the crazy sort of tactician, and I do too. But I just
He's got a lot on the line himself.
Oh, yeah.
At this Copa, bro. I'm telling you now, if you lose to the United States and you go out in the quarterfinals, bro, I don't want to hear Bielsa hype ever again. Genuinely, I never.
Oh,
want
I'm
to hear
down
it
for that.
again.
Yeah,
I'm down for that. Yeah.
And do you know who Mexico's last win was at the Copa America?
Venezuela?
Nah, bro. We tied them 1-1.
Oh, it was Uruguay.
We beat them 3-1
Yeah, 3-1.
in the Centenario and got them grouped.
Yeah.
If they, bro, I'm saying, if they lose to another CONCACAF team, God help them if Panama pulls off a result. They're done.
That'd be dope.
They are done.
the
man.
plane's disappearing in transit back to Montevideo.
Oh, dude, I'm getting a Coco Carrasquilla jersey immediately. How do you come back from that? If you're Uruguay, how do you come back from that? You have 2 or 4 stars on your crest, depending on who you ask, and you're getting grouped at consecutive Copa America. You're losing to
Grouped is
You're
is
losing to
crazy.
CONCACAF.
Grouped is
teams.
crazy.
Grouped is crazy.
Grouped is crazy,
That
but
would
with
be
you if it's
insane.
grouped.
See,
Yeah.
I told you he's a hater. He loves.
But if it's-
No, I'm not a hater.
No.
Believe it or not, I like Uruguay. Despite everything
What's
that's up.
crazy though is that if that does happen, I actually wouldn't put anything against Uruguay because that would mean the USA and Panama were actually real. And if you really look at it objectively, that's the only way that can happen. And then that's not on Uruguay. That's because Panama and USA balled out. So, like, if you look at it just from a scoreline perspective, you could like shit on Uruguay, but that would just mean they're not as good as we think they are.
I can only agree or disagree once the game has happened.
Yeah,
Depends.
absolutely.
we gotta watch the
absolutely.
quality, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're just speculating. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, this is getting speculative.
I think we have 2
No,
teams
it's all
left to mention that I think are worth being in this discussion because there's some other teams, but I think they have less pressure overall. 2 big teams, Mexico and Colombia. Where do we stand on the pressure that they have going into this tournament? And to make it fun between those 2 teams, who has the most pressure?
Mexico by far.
Yeah.
It's Mexico, bro. The fans are deluded.
I just think it's cultural pressure.
Yeah.
I, that's all it is, though. If you look at what's happening on the pitch, there's zero pressure because if you accept who Mexico are, they're an above-average team, nothing more. So they have to expect an above-average performance, nothing more at the Copa. If they get more, then oh my God, like they've refound themselves. And if anything, there's no pressure. You're in ecstasy. You're celebrating something that you didn't think could happen. And if they fall out, if they have a really bad Copa, well then you're like, okay, this makes sense. Mexico or shit. I don't think there's any pressure for Mexico on the pitch. But yeah, culturally, obviously there's a ton of pressure.
Yeah, I agree.
Culturally, yeah.
Yeah.
You watch the football on the pitch, you know what's coming.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you're going to be harsh on the team, but it is what we've been seeing for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
It's trending.
For Colombia, it's interesting because
Colombia's
they're
interesting.
on an incredible unbeaten streak right now, I believe, and they've been playing really good ball overall. They got ballers on their team. What are the expectations for Colombia, and what happens if they don't meet them?
I'm going to say I'm not as in tune with the Colombian zeitgeist, but what I will say is they've got some dogs. And my expectation for them is very much that they're sitting in the underdog seat. I think that people don't really expect them to play as well as they're going to. And for that reason, I think they're going to be just a spark plug at the Copa America. I think it's going to be one of the reasons to watch. Anybody like talks to me about that, the kids that I teach that love to watch like the big guys play, I'm like, ojo con Colombia. Just take a look at them. Take a look at them. Tune into one of the games. I promise you, even 45 minutes, you are not going to regret it. So I think the pressure's on for them when the tournament begins. But right now, they're going to go in and they're going to punch somebody in the mouth. God help their first 2 games. Once they get on that hot streak, I think then the pressure's on. It's on internationally. I think that's when the Europeans are starting to take notice, right? They're going to look around. They're going to be like, whoa, okay, there's more than just 2 teams in this, right? And it's not Brazil, Argentina. But now we're looking at Colombia too, and the style that they play, and they don't go quietly. They don't go I mean, just go and look at that Copa America between Argentina and Colombia. That was a dog fight. That was a dog fight. And I think that we're going to see something even more feisty from them. There's a better word than that, but I think they're going to show up, and the pressure's going to be on once they get that streak going. Once they keep that going, and then people start looking at those records, that's when it takes notice. So right now, they're still carrying that underdog chip, which is good for them because they're like, we're not. And it's bad for the other teams because they're probably going to underestimate them in some way, shape, or form. But I think the pressure will be on when they get there. So right now, I would say no. When they get there, yes. And what does it mean if they lose? I feel like it's going to be like, oh, Cinderella run is done, right? I do think that they're mentally strong enough, given the streak that they're on now, the streak that they were on before that happened. I think they're mentally strong enough to do that again in the next tournament, right? Going in to qualifying is going to be you're going to be dreading those away days in Colombia. But
Barranquilla is a fortress.
I'm not too worried for them right now in regards to pressure. I think they're going to do their country proud. So maybe there is pressure. Maybe I just don't see it right now because my expectations are clouding my vision.
I think it's an average, appropriate amount of pressure for Colombia. I remember when I said on one of our videos that I think Colombia are my top 2 favorites. Pretty much all the comments we got were about how they're historic bottlers. And I'm not totally familiar with the entire history of Colombian performance at the Copa America, but it seems like at least what the South American dialogue is like, okay, these guys always look pretty until the tournament starts and then they fall off. So I feel like the expectation is they will lose in the quarterfinals. Or maybe Paraguay upsets them in the group stage. I don't think there's a lot of Argentines and Peruvians and Ecuadorians sitting over the asado talking about like, Colombia, man, if they don't make the final, frauds.
Yeah. I like the Cinderella aspect just because of the run they're on right now. I think people like the energy behind the Colombian team, and it's honestly one of the more exciting teams to look forward to in the Copa America, in my opinion. But because of that, I think the perspective isn't rooted in pressure. It's just rooted in like, let's see what happens for Colombia.
Yeah.
Yes. Because for me, in this tournament for Colombia, I just want to see them return to form, right? I haven't seen a fun Colombia team outside of now since 2017, 2018.
Right.
So the fact that they're, playing really good offensive football again, it's exciting, because as you said, the attributes that they have just lends to a really entertaining match of football. If they can bring that energy to the Copa, it's only good. I wouldn't know if I call it pressure, but especially since they have the underdog tag. So Colombia is a really interesting team. They'll be really fun to root for. But yeah, I agree. I think an appropriate amount of pressure is being applied to them right now.
I'll throw something out and you guys let me know how you feel about it.
Let's do it.
I feel like if we look at the Colombian team, another reason why I don't think they have the pressure of an Uruguay or maybe even an Ecuador, I think is like a similar team, is if you look at the Colombian squad, by far the highest profile player, Luis Diaz, by a mile. Who is second?
Lerma, maybe?
Jefferson Lerma, Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
My point.
Exactly.
My point. The U.S. men's national team have greater international reach and recognition than Colombia. Like where is Davinson Sanchez playing now? I don't even know. Where is Jefferson Yeremy Mina? I don't even know what happened after. Anyways, this is my point. They don't have guys at PSG, Real Madrid, Liverpool, where the European casuals will go, hey, that guy's from Uruguay, right? Oh, what? I wonder what they're gonna do at the Copa America this summer. Colombia doesn't have that. Since the Yames left Real Madrid, they don't have like stars like that, which is crazy because they're really good.
Yeah,
but they don't have international base, is what I will say.
Yeah, they phased out Falcao. That was a big one. Phasing them out. You're right. That generation, that golden generation, 2014 had a lot of those, but now you're right, man. You actually blew me with that one.
At least you're not Chile, though. At least you're not Chile.
Hey, we love Gareca.
We love Gareca.
Well, then we're with you there.
It's very clear.
We're with you on that.
Gareca. Okay.
Gareca's Peru is one of my favorite teams all time.
Dog, thank you so much. feel so validated. I mean, we
Legendary,
were
bro.
preaching. We got clowned so hard when Australia went to the World Cup, and we were like, you weren't there for the 5 years before.
Before it was all about before. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Same with us.
It was the same with us.
Dude, trust me, bro. Being in the streets of Lima, every time I asked the taxista what he felt about Gareca going to Chile, like you could just see like a tear,
Hey, but
like going
you got
down.
replaced by a Reynoso.
I would rather you be there. I don't lie to you. Let's go. We gotta book that
Yeah,
flight.
we'll see what Fossati does, but again, the pulse check in the streets of Cusco were not that encouraging.
Man.
They got outshot at home against.
I think there's a
Dominican
statue of
Republic.
Gareca somewhere, right? There's got to be. You can just go to
There's
that.
If
I know
there
there's a
isn't,
mural.
that's-
If there
that's
isn't, it's a
disrespectful.
travesty. But there is a mural.
Disrespectful.
My stepmom was there a couple months ago, and she sent me this beautiful just layout. It's gorgeous. His face with the long.
Oh,
flowing
yeah.
hair.
Oh, yeah.
They got the
El
halo
Tigre.
around his head.
Oh, my God.
Okay, fun mini question: who has a better Copa America, Venezuela or Chile?
I would say Venezuela. I'm inclined to say Venezuela. They're also like the opposite of Ecuador. They tend to have decent Copa appearances, oddly enough. Even though they're shit in qualifiers historically, for some reason, they always show up in the Copa. They've been playing really well over the last 12 months. I'd actually back Venezuela over Chile this year.
Dude, I want to say Venezuela so bad. I want to say Venezuela so bad.
They got some fun players.
One of the most
They do.
electrifying games that I ever saw was Venezuela's last game in 2021 Copa America. It was like the end of the group stage, and I was like eating dinner, and I could see like half the TV through the living room door, and like we're having like our nice Argentine, asado or something like that. They're talking about family stuff, and the whole time I was like, "Is that Venezuela?"
They're popping off in the
They're popping off.
background.
I was like, Dad, are you seeing this? And he's like, it's not Argentina, no me importa. I was like, what is going on? So I would.
The groups are interesting.
The groups are
The
interesting.
group situations are interesting.
Talk to me about the groups.
Argentina, Canada, Chile, Peru, and then Ecuador, Jamaica, Mexico, Venezuela.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Chile.
I feel like we have to, or we are frauds. Like if we
Yeah.
back Gareca the way we do, and we answer Venezuela,
It might not be Gareca's fault that they lose, though.
Yeah,
you know.
Chile can beat Canada.
Chile can beat
Chile
Canada.
can beat
They
Peru.
can
Canada. Oh, and they definitely can beat Peru.
Pacifico Derby.
whereas
though. You
Venezuela
never know
has to
what
perform
happens.
against
It's gonna
Ecuador.
get chippy.
Venezuela has to play against Mexico at home, and then a feisty Jamaican team as well is in the
Never
cards for
forget
them.
the Jamaican.
Venezuela
I
definitely have a
think-
harder group.
yeah, I think
they have a
they're
harder
to play,
group.
and so-
100%.
If it was even, I'd go Venezuela, but I'm gonna go Chile due to context.
That's
I'm gonna
fair.
go Chile as well.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
I'm locking in on that.